what's up, everybody? It's Ericka, Sallee, speaker, author, and your transformation success coach. Listen, I learned something from one of my coaches years ago, Lisa Nichols, that I have never, ever forgotten. Actually, there's several things, but this one in particular is one that I think just resonates with me. And I share it with my clients because I think it's so important to understand how things fit into this thing called life. One of the things that she said is that everything that we do fits into one of four categories. It's either our health, our finances, our spirituality, and our relationships. And when I thought about that, I'm like, it is true. Like, if you look at the landscape of your life and you say, oh my goodness, like, it's true. Everything that I do, I go to work, that has to do with my finances, and I'm dealing with people, that's relationships, and sometimes it can be a little bit stressful, and so that impacts my well-being, and sometimes I have to pull on my spirituality to help me get through. Like, everything that we do fits into any one or all four of those. And so I was trying to figure out, I'm like, there's so many different things to talk about in each of these quadrants. I call it, as I'm sharing with others, the wellness quadrant, because I think that when we look at all four of these areas, we really can identify, well, what makes me well? Like, what is, what's the thing that aligns me with the best possible outcome for my well-being in all of these areas? So I was trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, well, you know, what area do I want to tackle? And I know that at some point in time, I'm going to get to all four of them. But tonight, today, this afternoon, whatever time you happen to see this video, I wanted to just hone in on the relationship part of what I'm calling, again, the wellness quadrant. So, and you know, like I said, this might be a good one. This is going to be a good one. So, I am recently divorced. For those of you who don't know me, or you're just kind of popping onto my YouTube channel for the first time, recently divorced, and you know, I'm now in my 50s. And so to this point, I've never, ever been single, lived on my own, paid a bill on my own, all that stuff. I said never, ever been single. That's not true. I haven't been single in about 30 years. So let's just be real and say that. So now is the entrance into the dating game. Now, before I go into that, let me say this, that when we say relationships have so many different layers, okay? So it can be the relationship that you have with your spouse or significant other. It can be the relationship that you have with your children. It can be a relationship you have with your parents or your neighbors or your friends or your coworkers. So relationships have so many different dimensions because we are human beings and we are intended to be relational. And so in this conversation, though, I'm talking about relationships with men at this stage of my life. So I was thinking about this, and I often have these conversations with myself out loud and in my own prayer time, because now that I'm in this stage of my life, it is important for me to connect in the right way, okay? Over the course of my transition from being married to single, I have grown quite a bit. And I've carved out this space for myself that feels so good to me. You know, being able to live on my own and to manage the things that I need to manage and to take care of and love up on my kids and all that kind of stuff. And really finding that peace within me, like the things that I like to do, the things that I enjoy, the downtime that I'm blessed to be able to have, and to just kind of sit and be and to just relish what it means to nurture myself. And so I'm really enjoying the space that I'm in. And so as I think about this, and looking at the landscape of the dating world, I gotta tell you, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, okay, this is where you are, and what does that even look like? And so, I've talked to many people and they've said, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want to be you and, to get out here and have to start all over. And trust and believe, I have approached that same concept with a little bit of trepidation. However, I do realize that instead of me facing this part of my life with that, oh gosh, I've got to shift the energy and create the energy around what I want the experience to be like, okay? And what I know for sure is that that energy has to be the kind of energy that I've already created for myself, okay? So herein lies the conversation about, okay, here is the relationship part of the quadrant. Remember I said there's 4 areas that everything we do fall into. It's health, it's finances, it's spirituality, relationships. We're going to deal with relationships right now. Come back to the others at another time. So a lot of times when we think about this idea of being relational with someone, and I'm not talking about, sex or physical, right? It is just connection. We sometimes look at the fulfillment of those relationships to come externally. But what I've discovered is that in order for us to connect with another person, that we first have to connect with ourselves enough to know, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I want to do, this is what I don't want to do. Here is the space that means something to me. Here is, all of these things like you're discovering about you, so that when you go to show up with and for someone else, then you've already discovered enough about yourself to know, oh, okay, either this aligns or it doesn't align. So that's the first thing. We talk about relationships, like, so in the past, I was used to going out before going in, okay? Looking to someone else to provide fulfillment, looking to someone else to validate me, looking for someone else to tell me that I'm beautiful, that I'm talented, that I'm smart, looking for someone else to fill my cup. And then I had to discover, wait a minute, I don't have to wait for somebody else to do that for me. I have to do it for myself, so that when someone shows up in the space, that there's no confusion about what that looks like. And then I get all roped into something that really doesn't feel good to me. But instead, if I've already defined it for myself, then it's very easy for me to communicate that to someone else. Okay, so that's the first part. There's so many different layers. I don't even know if I'm gonna get through all of this right now. I may have to come back and do another segment, but I had to get this out because it's been on my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, well, how many other people, and especially right now in this moment, I'm talking to women, but there are some men out there who can probably identify with this same conversation. So I don't want you to feel excluded, but the only reason why I'm saying I'm speaking to women right in this moment is because why? Well, I'm a woman, okay, in case you didn't guess. And this is the stage that I'm in, and I'm sharing it out. So you get to pull from this conversation however it fits for you, regardless of whether you're male, female, whatever. So the other thing is that I know in this age of technology that it's very easy to lose the art of communicating to people, with people. And this is on, so you can look at this on whatever relationship level, right? Remember I said there's several different types of relationships. So we've got the marriage, or, your significant other, you've got all different kinds. So I gotta sneeze. Whew, it won't come out. It'll come back in a minute. So this comment can really transcend to whatever level of relationship you happen to be in, or the one that you're focusing on as I'm having this conversation. And let me say this, that there is very difficult, it's not easy to connect with someone solely through text messages, right? There's no way that you can completely connect with someone through text messages or emails. I mean, I think people probably text more than they email. At least I can say that's true for me, unless it's business related. But in the relationship phase, one of the things that was impressed upon me from my therapist, and yes, I do go to therapy. Let me tell you, let me stop and just park this right here and say this, that there has been this myth that we don't do therapy, that, oh no, we don't do that. And when I say we, I'm talking about African Americans, I'm talking about Black people. When I was growing up, that was never a conversation. And I don't think it was because there was something wrong, it's just because we didn't know. But let me say this, that therapy is absolutely a part of self-care. It is healing. It helps you to just get things out of your head and to be able to get an objective conversation with someone. So yes, one of the things that I learned in a recent conversation with my therapist is that when you think about relationships, especially if you're new on the dating circuit or you haven't been there in a while, there's different levels. One level is I'm in the getting to know stage. Another level is, okay, we're dating, meaning that we're going out consistently, we're having a good time. Another level is we're exclusively dating. Which means that you are dating one person and one person alone. And then you go on to the next level, committed, where you might be engaged or whatever. So you see how that changes. And so right now, I am in the getting to know stage, okay? And it's important for me in the getting to know stage. There are some things that to me are very basic in the getting to know stage. No, there's no exclusive commitment. There is no conversation, well, I said that, exclusive commitment, you know? So it's in the getting to know stage. Now, in the getting to know stage, yeah, you may be going out on multiple dates and things of that nature, but you're getting to know someone. You're understanding that person, what their life is like, what they don't like, what things are important to them in the getting to know stage. One of the things, or three of the things that I know for sure that are important for me is that I like conversation, and I don't mean just text conversation. I mean on the phone conversation. You don't have to be talking to me 24/7. You don't have to talk to me 50 million times a day, but conversation, like to be able to hear your voice, let you hear mine, so that we can just like understand one another, so that there's no misinterpretation through a text message. Okay, so that's one of the things. So conversation, consistency, follow-up. Those are three things that I think are very basic for me in the getting to know stage. What does consistency mean? That means that you are doing something on a regular basis, okay? Now, you might say, well, but you said there's no commitment. That is true. But consistency doesn't mean that you're committed to someone exclusively. Consistency just means, you know what? If I say I'm going to do this, then here's what I'm going to do. If I'm following a pattern, if I'm, we've made a decision to have a conversation, once or twice a day, and then you go off and there's a week or 2 weeks and that's not consistency. And that doesn't allow me the opportunity to get to know you, nor does it give you the opportunity to get to know me, right? It works both ways. The follow-up is if you say you're going to do something, then do that. If you say you want to get together, then let's figure out how to make that happen, as opposed to just letting things linger, okay? So in the getting to know stage, for me, those are three things that I have identified that mean something to me, okay? So I say this because if you are the person who is in the same boat that I am, then, and even if you're not, like you might be in a relationship, you might be in a committed relationship, I think it's important to be able to communicate to one another, like what are the things that mean something to you, and you get to define like where is that meaning. Is it something that's like passive meaning, or is it significant enough that it could be a deal breaker, like all of those things. And I have got to say this, I've got to say it. I was listening to a conversation with M.J. Harris. I love his insight. But one of the things that he said that has been on my mind, and I've kind of like, it's rolling through. It's like every time, I'm having this conversation in my mind about, well, what does getting to know look like? One of the things that he said that I will always remember is that in whatever stage you're in, whether it's getting to know, whether it's casual dating, whether it's exclusive dating or more, ask yourself this question. If the person never changes anything about what they do or how they behave, is that enough for you? mm, mm, mm. When he said that, I was just like, ding, ding, ding. So simple, but yet so profound. I want to say it again. If the person that you are connected to in whatever stage of relationship never changes one thing about what they do, how they show up, how they behave, is that good enough? And when I thought about that, I'm like, man, so what that says to me is that it gives us the opportunity to assess what it is that we like, and then we get to observe to figure out if what we're seeing or hearing or not seeing or not hearing aligns with that. That's why it's important to identify what are the things that are important to you. And I know we can come up with a laundry list because I don't have it in front of me, but I created myself a list that I said, here are the things that are important to me. And I got a whole long list, okay? That's another conversation for another day. But the three basic things that if I had to sit back and say at any phase, whether it's a getting to know, a casual dating, exclusive dating, here are three things that mean something to me. And I've already said those, right? So it's conversation, pick up the phone, let's talk about it, let's, check in. And I know you're like, oh, check in. No, it's like you don't have to check in and say, okay, this is where I am, I'm at the store. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But if you're getting to know someone, just think about it. Even if you know somebody for a long time, if you send a text message, sometimes it's hard to decipher, well, what does this actually mean? Or am I misinterpreting something that you said, and oh, I said this and you thought I meant that and I really didn't? So you can't iron that out in a text message, because what's going to happen is you're going to probably weave in more confusion into that part of the communication. So picking up the phone and say, hey, what's going on? How you doing? How was your day? Da-da-da, whatever. That's first thing. That's my thing. Consistency and follow-up. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to figure out what your three things are. Now I'm saying three, but it may be one or two. You might even say, oh no, I got 5, 6, or 7. Don't do that to yourself, because then you're going to check yourself out of, it's going to be too confusing. Think about 1 to 3 things that when you are in a specific phase of relationship that means something to you. And when you identify what those things are, then when people come into the space, you get to observe and figure out, is this aligning with what means something to me? You see how it's almost like, in a way, it's very liberating. And I think that when I heard MJ say, if this person never changes anything about what they do or how they show up, is that enough? I thought, ooh, that's a good measuring stick. Right? That's a good measuring stick. So I'm going to give you this. And as I said, this whole relationship piece is so much to it. But I at least wanted to share this piece to say to you, you know what? Think about what's meaningful for you. Right? Think about what's meaningful for you. You might say, nah, I don't need you to call me. Text message is fine. That might be good for you. And if it is, at least you know that about you. It might be different from the next person, and that's okay, because no two people are exactly alike. We're all going to have a different perspective on the same thing, and that's okay. That's the beauty of humanity. That's what makes us unique and what makes the world go round, right? But at least give yourself the opportunity so that when you are connecting with people, that you understand what's important to you or what's meaningful for you. And then you sit back and you observe and you say, okay, so for people who are coming into my space, if they don't change anything about them, does that match up with my 3 things? See, I said to someone, one of the things that something in my eye, one of the things that I am learning is that I would much rather be connected with people, and I'm talking again, this is opposite sex, right? It's because I'm in the getting to know phase. Let me say that right. I'm in the getting to know phase, and part of that getting to know phase is, you go out and see how people, you hang out. Is that I want to be able to communicate my three things and know that you hear me, right? And know that you hear me, and just observe. And just observe. So I really wanted to have this conversation. And man, I'm telling you, I know that it's so many different ways, and it's so many different paths that we can go down to have this conversation about relationships. It's not a one-stop shop conversation. This is just a moment to say, let me just deposit this real quick. Let me just share this real quick, because this is my experience that I'm living now. And as I live it, I'm learning. As I live it, I'm learning. I'm learning more about me. I'm learning more about other people. And I'm just learning. And that's the fun part. That's the fun part. I think the part that is the most fun is that I'm learning more, so much more about me, that it helps me to be in tune to other people and how that connects with my learning. I don't know if that came out right, but I hope you all got it. I have to come back and have more conversation. And listen, if you all have insight, or you have, experiences that you want to share, do comment. Because this is a shared journey where we get to learn and grow together. So I look forward to that. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to invite your friends to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And I want you to tell them to be sure to turn on the notifications, because I will be sharing more content in the days and weeks to come. And I look forward to just expanding the learning, the transformation. Because here's the thing. Here is the thing. We grow, we learn, we change, and that transformation begins when we start to break down the barriers that keep us from being our best version, that keep us from being successful, that keep us from going full steam ahead to do something that's meaningful and fulfilling for us. So when you come into this space and you hang out with me here, then I get to share different things that you get to take, and you say, oh, yep, let me take this little piece. Now, everything that I might say might not be for you. It might be for somebody else, which is why I'm saying, hey, do me a favor. Invite some other folks to hang out here with me. Because when we come together, then transformational moments can happen for us on any level. And sometimes we don't even recognize where we need it until we hear it. And you can't hear it unless you come hang out with me here. So on that note, I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Until I do, take care and be well. Mwah.